Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And we're joined with two guests in studio. We've got Officer Nate Johnson.
Thanks for having me.
And we've got retired officer Brandon Bray.
Hey, good to meet y'all.
Hey, good to have you gentlemen on the show today. Curtis, I was going to bring up the fact, I always come in. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford, right? I kind of had that down. That's what I go with. So I've got a friend that calls me every so often, and a good friend. I've known him for like 30 years. And every time I answer the phone, he's like, "Can I speak to retired officer Steve?" I'm like, "You're an ass, dude."
That's who you are.
So anyways, it's good to have all you guys here today. Nate, let's start with you. You are currently an officer, correct?
Yes, sir. I work for Little Elm PD. I started with Allen PD, moved over to Northeast where I met Officer Brandon Bray. Northeast split, and I stayed with Krugerville. We covered two towns. I stayed with Krugerville. And then I just recently got a phone call from Little Elm, and they said, "Hey, we got a K9 without a handler, and we need you." So I just moved over to Little Elm PD.
Oh, so you do K9 stuff with Little Elm?
Yes, sir. I did 2 years K9 with Northeast, and then when they split, they retired my dog and gave him to me. So,
wow, man!
Glad to get back in it.
You got departments calling you. Hey, you interested in a job?
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just because he's pretty.
it is.
It's the beard.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't the dog thing. They're like, "Hey, we want that guy. We've seen him on the streets. We want him.
He's photogenic."
Really, you've worked for quite a few different agencies, but you were out in Allen for a while?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's where I started out.
Allen to Northeast PD that split into Krugerville and Crossroads.
Yes, sir.
And then now on to Little Elm.
Was Northeast just like a couple of towns together or something like that?
Yeah,
How'd that work?
Krugerville and Crossroads had an interlocal agreement where
Gotcha.
they had a department together.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they did, and then ended up splitting, and each city picked up their own PD. All right, Brandon, you are retired.
Yes, sir.
How's retirement?
Fantastic, honestly. There's things I miss, obviously. Mostly the camaraderie and the guys that I worked with. But other than that, man, I work from home now, and it's amazing. So,
well, and what agency did you retire from?
So that's kind of a long story. I worked for Northeast PD with Johnson, and then I got an offer for business work, being in corporate America, that I couldn't really turn down. And then I had some injuries that occurred and all that. And in between that whole time is when Northeast PD was splitting up. So I'm technically retired from Krugerville PD, but I never spent a day in their uniform.
That's a Jedi trick there.
Yeah, it's like getting the Super Bowl ring just for being on the team for you.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like the bullpen catcher, right?
Well, what other agency did you work for? You mentioned earlier you'd worked for other ones.
Yeah, so I started law enforcement in 2004 up in Detroit, went to the academy at Wayne County, ended up getting injured in that academy. By the time I healed up, Dallas was doing their recruiting. So I applied and did everything up in Michigan, and then ended up getting hired with Dallas in 2007 and worked for Dallas PD for 2007 to about the end of 2016.
Well, your recruiting officer at Dallas Police Department, his name was not Andy Caceres, was it?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
So I don't remember offhand who it was, but
I was making sure because Andy is a retired Dallas officer. He was part of their recruiting division, if you will. He was on an episode, it was several episodes back, but he was talking about people filling out their pre-polygraph questionnaires.
yeah, I'm not going to lie. I failed the polygraph the first time I took it, but
Do you fish?
no.
Okay, I started asking.
Good. It's not the guy. He's not the guy.
He's not the guy.
That was a great episode, by the way. But Andy told a story of a applicant that, on your pre-polygraph questionnaire, it asks, have you ever been involved in any kind of deviant sex act kind of thing? And this individual had spent quite a bit of time on that question, and it caught Andy's attention. He was watching him. So when the guy came and turned in his form, that's the first thing Andy jumped down to and read it. The guy said he was at the lake fishing by himself. Nobody else was around. He caught a fish. So He
So he used it.
Ooh.
he used
yeah.
the fish, and yeah. So anyway, poor fish. And you know what? Was it catch and release? Because did someone else catch that fish later on and take it home and eat it?
Oh.
More like chum in the waters. I'm sorry.
And yeah, you know what? That guy probably works at SeaWorld now.
I doubt that fish ever put anything else in its mouth.
Definitely didn't put any worms in its mouth.
Or he enjoyed it. One or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving right along. Nate, in your time in law enforcement, you know, I'm sure you've collected some stories, and actually I know you have because I was asking you about some of your stories, and you showed me your phone where you've got a whole list of them.
Yes, sir.
So hit us with your best shot. What you got?
Well, talking about putting stuff in your mouth.
Okay, well maybe we shouldn't
Segue.
start.
Segue, yeah.
That's a
Maybe we
good
shouldn't go
segue.
that route.
I was working nights and I saw a car in the park, and it was after hours. They're way deep in the park, and you know they're off the cement. So I drive to the edge of cement, walk over there, and it's this car that's high centered in the sand, can't get out, and it's this lady sitting there like it's, you know, she's enjoying the park in the middle of the day. And I start asking her about it, and she's, you know, I'm just sitting here enjoying the park, and well, you're slurring your words a lot. And I ended up arresting her for DWI, but while I'm talking to her, she's got something in her mouth. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you have in your mouth? And she lifts up her foot, and she
What?
had chewed off her toenail, and she's just got her toenail in her mouth, just like it's a piece of gum, chewing. I'm like, I don't need any other evidence. This is...
Oh my gosh.
There's some calls that you go on that, you know, the records ladies, they talk to you about them because they see the video and they're like, what? And that was one that got brought up quite a few times.
And this must have been like, I mean, so it looked like she was chewing gum.
Yeah, she just, I mean, I could tell she had something in her mouth, and for a potential DWI, you know, you want to,
Oh, yeah.
you don't want anything in their mouth. So she, like, it was nothing. She's like, oh yeah, it's just my toenail. I'm like, I have so many more questions following that.
No, she had big feet. Anything?
Yeah,
was
I mean,
this-
yeah, she had taken her shoes off, and she's sitting there. I mean, she was pretty. I can't put my foot to my mouth, you know, with all the room in the world. She's sitting in the front seat with a steering wheel in front of her. I'm like,
Just okay, and then,
like,
so she's able to just lift her foot up and just
yeah,
went to town gnawing.
yeah.
off
She
her
showed me her.
toe?
Yeah, that's my toenail.
Oh. I got one that's similar to that. I mean,
Oh, here we go.
vehicle parked out in the middle of nowhere with a female in it, but I mean, she was doing something completely different than chewing on her toenails. We, when I was working in Dallas, over off of Walnut Hill, before they built like the soccer fields and everything that are over there, it used to just be an empty lot. And we pulled up in there one night. There's an SUV, center lights, the dome lights were on. We walk up onto it. She's got both feet up on the dashboard with a whole slew of toys that she bought from New Fine Arts. We walk up to the window and she's like, I just got out of jail. Either join me or leave. And yep, I left. She was more than welcome to her peace and quiet over there. So,
Oh man. How many toys we're talking here? Was it more than 6?
oh yeah, 7, 8,
my
maybe
gosh.
10. I mean, she probably spent as much as she had in her commissary when she left jail.
That's a city ordinance ticket in my
that's-
city. So
It is a violation to have more than 5.
it is.
And if you're listening, Mark Lemons, Mark is a deputy down in Corpus Christi, and that's he's always playing pranks like that.
Oh man.
Sent me a letter once. He sent me some patches from the Corpus area and mailed them to me. Sent them to the mailbox right outside here with the return address of, what was it, Mistress M's Used Sex Toys?
Yes. Invoice enclosed, rolled
Yeah.
bold letters on the front of it.
Yeah, invoice enclosed. So,
Oh.
all right, Nate. So we've got toenails.
Yeah, let's stay on finding people in cars. I mean,
Okay.
It's like
you know,
Jeopardy.
You walk up on people in their car. Yeah.
I'll take toenail for 300.
Weird things in cars for 200. Yeah, I was in FTO and I was riding with a sergeant because my original field trainer was in SWAT and he was at training. So I'm with the sergeant and we're driving through the parking lot and there's a car bouncing up and down. And so we walk up and he walked on the passenger side and walked on the driver's side, and I happened to have the male that was derobed and he had the female that was derobed, and
Derobed. I like that, man.
Yeah.
We just call it naked around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You kind of went upper class on this.
Oh, yeah.
Derobed.
It's one of those SWAT moves.
Yeah. So we, we handle the call, we finish it, and he goes, you're going to tell your wife about seeing naked people at work, and she's always going to think that it's, some supermodel. It's Giselle. And he goes,
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
He goes, the good thing is I saw boobs today. The bad thing is they were hers. Ugh. it's never the ones you want to see, man.
Yeah, no. I never came across a supermodel in, unrobed.
Derobed.
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 Yeah, never came across a supermodel derobed while on duty. No, doesn't happen. Brandon, does that remind you of any calls?
Oh,
you
yeah,
got?
I mean, plenty.
He
So
worked in
the
Dallas.
entire time I worked in Dallas, I worked at Northwest Division, which contains Harry Hines and Walnut Hill, which if anybody knows about the area, it's like the highest prostitution population in the country, basically, depending on the time of year.
You bordered my city over there.
Yeah, absolutely. We spent quite a few times right at the border there. But yeah, they're, the girls around there, they just walk around in wife beater tank top, nothing on in the bottom. And my partner and I had the same partner for 6 years in Dallas, and we did a lot of work with Vice. So we knew all the girls. We did, we stopped them all the time. We would be the uniform presence for the undercovers when they made their arrests and things like that. But there was one girl, I still remember her name. She's not a small individual, and I mean, her boobs were the size of mine and Nate's head put together for one of them. And every time I saw her walking down the street, she had a thing for my partner. And so I'd pull up to the road with him on her side of the vehicle, and she'd just walk right up, pick him up, sling him into the door, and just start leaning in, flirting with my partner. So there was plenty of those times where we were walking up on naked folk, or what'd you say, derobed?
Derobed.
Yeah, no, they were definitely naked in Dallas. There was no derobing over there. So
Well, I was in Vice for about almost 5 years, and we did reversals where we put one of our officers out on the corner, and this one particular time we put one of our girls out, and what they do is as soon as they get the deal, they take off, we take them down, and then one of the partners just jumps in the John's car and drives it over to a parking lot. We're going to tow it, right? So he pulls up, and it's a big truck, and it's electrical. It's like Larry's Electrical Services or whatever. And so he gets out, and we cuff him up, doing our thing. Doing our thing, and my corporal comes out and he goes, "Hey!" The guy turned around and goes, "Do you own that company, the electrical company?" He's like, "Yes, sir, I do." He goes, "Well, now your wife does." Pardon my language. I was like, oh my! I mean, I was too young. I was like, oh my Lance! I can't believe he just said that. And that guy was like, he was fighting mad over that, but I just reminded me of him. Sorry.
yeah, with my mentality and the Vice work, like I learned that I wanted to do Vice stuff from probably my first couple weeks in FTO. And if I tell you the story, you're just going to look at me like, why would that make you want to do what you wanted to do? I was on FTO maybe 2 weeks out of the academy. My FTO was friends with, all the Vice guys. Like he was on 27 years when he was training me. And we got a call at one of the massage parlors, right? That more of the massaging is going on. And he had his phone on speaker. We heard the words to go make entry. I kick in the door, and naked girl goes running down the hallway, and he comes out of the room completely naked and goes, "She went that way." And so we just go blowing through the place, chasing after this naked chick down Northwest Highway. And from that day on, I was like, I want to be in Vice.
I want to be the naked guy.
Yeah, I never actually made it there because I got promoted and was, working on trying to get in there. Of course, I was always told we didn't need another white guy from Sergeant Nunez, who was one of my favorite sergeants down there. But I ended up leaving Dallas before any of that came on. So, but that was my career path in Dallas, was to go to Vice. So
Sounds like a Seinfeld episode.
Like The Wire.
He had ambitions of being the naked guy, like you said.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
Yeah. Like, what'd you do today, sweetheart? I just tripped down naked.
it's just another day.
What was the safety word you guys had, or the takedown word? Leprechaun.
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 Yeah.
But
They would look at you like, why did you just say that? I'm like, no reason.
You'll find out.
that 4-word story. Again, going back to a previous episode, talking about Curtis and some of those guys, operation they used to run at a park over in Fort Worth, and their takedown word was leprechaun.
Yes, that was our takedown word.
And they take rookies out there and let them go.
Yeah, they'd be out there and they'd just give us the code word, and you're like, leprechaun. give him a few minutes too. He'll figure it out. He's like, leprechaun. It was like about 6th one. It's like, leprechaun. Okay, go get in, guys. Go.
Go ahead. Go save him. Go get him now.
Let him say it a couple times. It might have been an accident.
We couldn't hear him. Couldn't hear you, man. I couldn't hear you.
Sorry.
What else we got, Nate? You still have a wait. We'll take cars for 400. Was it?
Well, yeah, staying on cars and women. I got dispatched to a reckless driver, and I didn't think I was going to catch it because when it came out, I was pretty far away from the intersection. And I get there, and by golly, there's the car, and it's literally just making loops around, going the underpass, going U-turn, going down to the next underpass, U-turn, and I mean,
that's not a good getaway plan.
No, it was not, and you didn't need to be a cop to know that driver is drunk. They're not going straight at all, swerving left and right, hitting the curb. And it's a nice Mercedes SUV, but it's been
it was
nice. So I get it stopped, walk up, talk to her. She's the nanny. It's her birthday. They let her borrow the car. It's not her car. It's her employer's car. And I mean, it smells like alcohol, but it smells like something else. And I'm trying to figure it out. I'm talking to her. I know she's drunk. Get her out. And when she grabs her purse, it sloshes.
Ooh. And
I kind of get on tiptoes and look. The purse and the cup holders are just full of vomit.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say nutmeg. Oh man.
Yeah, she had thrown up all of the things that she had drank, and that was the alcohol smell and the
man.
that's the smell. It's mixed with alcohol and throw up.
So not even her car. She's the nanny for these people. Borrowed their car, driving it intoxicated.
Went out with the girls. Got
I just hope it was her
drunk.
purse.
These aren't my pants. This isn't my
Yeah, mine are in the
purse.
shop, man.
She's probably hoping she's probably wishing it wasn't her purse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not mine. You can throw it away.
There's DWIs. This is not going to go to court, and that's one of my.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to have to testify on this one.
That's horrible.
Yeah,
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't have very many DWI stories. I had the benefit of having traffic officers that did my DWIs for me in Dallas, and then I had this guy when I was at Northeast that would take them over for me because, I had my training, but I wasn't any good at it. I got torn up in court one time, and I was like, we'll let the professionals handle those. I'll deal with all the other stuff.
Those guys were always very special, near and dear to my heart.
Exactly.
When you get on and call a Tom unit, and they show up, you're like, here's what you got, buddy. And
Yep.
they were happy.
Now, we did have a guy from the military get arrested for DWI that ended up, instead of doing the SFSC test, he was doing PT work. So he was doing high knees and push-ups and thinking that was going to get him out of the DWI. But that's about the funniest DWI story I got.
Did you make him do the Reno 911 dance?
I should have.
He's like, do a twirl. I'm too drunk for that.
I dance really well when I'm drunk.
You're listening to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. Visit us online at offbeatcopshow.com.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Thanks for being here.
And we got two guests in the studio with us. We've got Officer Nate Johnson,
Thanks for having me.
and we got retired Officer Brandon Bray.
Yep. Nice to meet you all again.
Now, this segment, sponsored by our good friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. Now, in that first segment, we kind of got into the whole the whole game. What you laughing at, Curtis?
It's always because when you do that little thing for Alex for the financial place, you actually have the word dot written
Yes.
out. And that just always throws me off. I'm like, how can you not realize you have to put the word, you spell it out.
It says dot and then com and then period. So it's .com.
So every time I see that, I chuckled a bit in my head. I'm like, okay, Grandpa.
Pause for applause.
Hey, that was an industry secret. So type it all out so you don't want to say alexfm.com.
Said no one ever. Oh, man.
Okay, well, that was fun. All right, now going back to the first segment, we were talking about, we kind of made it into a game show deal. We were talking about cars.
Yeah.
So, Curtis, would you like to be able to pick the category this go around?
Well, I would say, I say we do, what's that smell for 300, Steve? And there's some poop stories.
All right, Curtis has selected what's that smell for 300. Nate, can you help us out on this?
Yeah, I got one. When I was in the academy, there was two other guys that got hired the same time as me. We drove from Allen down to Arlington for the North Texas COG Academy.
It's a good drive.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't fun being the driver, so we rotate. You'd take turns driving, and that came to an end really quick. One day we did PT at the end of the day, so we're not in our academy uniform. We're just in our PT clothes, and we're driving back. And I'm starting to nod off. We just worked out. It's a hot day. I'm kind of falling asleep.
You're not driving, though.
No. I was in the back seat now.
I was like, I hope this doesn't turn. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So my buddy that's driving, I'm not going to give him away, but we're in the center lane. Suddenly right lane exit, gets off and pulls into this closed car wash. It's one of the self-wash where it's kind of a bay and you spray the car down. So he pulls in there and I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's like, nope, wasn't a fart. Wasn't a fart. So he hops out real quick and the turd falls out of his shorts. And I'm like, nope, you're driving the rest of the academy. He's like, yeah, I'll drive. So he drove the rest of the academy, but we ran over to the 7-Eleven next door. All they had was Windex, so we doused the seat in Windex. And
Oh my gosh.
There's some car wash somewhere that's got a pair of shorts and a turd rolled up in them. he changed into his uniform pants and drove home.
He's wearing his khakis home.
Yeah.
My question is, how close to Allen were you when you got
We
there?
were
'Cause
not.
Those shorts might not be there depending on the area that you were
Yeah.
in. Somebody might have picked those up.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So you had finished up with PT that day at the academy.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Ran the crap out of you. Thank God I never had. I never had anything like that when we left the academy. Oh, okay.
We've got to have a lot more than that. I mean,
Oh yeah, I could probably talk about different poop stories all day from Dallas, but my favorite one.
you have a favorite one?
I do have a favorite one. Well, I have two favorite ones. But
That's concerning.
One we'll hold off on. So I had a buddy came from Brazil, and he didn't have like that professional attitude towards things that you would expect a cop to have or an officer to have. And we were at a overdose / missing person. This guy's wife took a bunch of pills and then left the house. And we were there with the paramedics, and the paramedics are getting the list of everything that he knew that she took. And the paramedics look at the husband and say, if we don't find her in the next 45 minutes, she's going to die. Mm-hmm. And not as soon as those words came out of the paramedic's mouth, my buddy, who I won't say his name either, but it rhymes with Frank Lago. He taps the husband on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, can I use your bathroom?" and immediately walks in there and blows up the bathroom. Opens up the door and it just wafts out, and everybody's just staring at him going, are you absolutely serious right now? Like, so yeah, that's probably my favorite one.
When you gotta go, you gotta go, man. I mean,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
You know, Brandon, I don't have any favorite
yeah,
stories.
I like that. He's like, there's just so many to choose
there's
from.
a ton. I mean, you spend any time in Dallas's Central Detention Center, and you're going to have all the poop, pee, vomit stories that you ever would want to see. So,
Yeah, I made a few trips down there. Curtis, you didn't get the joy of that since you're over in Tarrant County.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I made a few trips down there during my time.
yeah, it's a quite non-enjoyable place.
I do want to clarify real quick. When I said I made a couple trips down there, it was transporting prisoners down there.
It was my professional career.
It was for business, not pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, so do we have any other...
You know, I told you all my DWI stories. I'm a DRE and SFST instructor, so that's that side. But as a canine handler, there's plenty of smells. You know, you learn really quick not to let your dog have those pup cups or any of the other. You don't feed them anything that's not their food because you're gonna be cleaning out the kennel in the back. You don't want to drive around with your. I mean, the car stinks anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then once they poop back there and you spend an hour cleaning the mats, you know, you learn. Okay, we're not gonna do that. But
Yeah.
when I got to canine training, I went to it's down in San Antonio, and there was four of us handlers. 3 of us brought our dog where we already had the dog, and then one guy was buying a dog from the trainer. And the 3 of us that had our dogs, you know, we had them we'd already started bonding with them. And the trainer walks in, and all 4 of us are sitting there, and he's like, "Okay, well, did you guys jack off your dogs?" And the guy that's
Oh my gosh.
What in the hell?
Despot.
the guy that's buying the dog has this horrified look on his face, like he cannot believe what he just heard. And without knowing that he was going to say that, the 3 of us that brought our dogs were like, yeah, we did. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we played into it. I mean, immediately, and this guy is just horrified. And I forgot about it. It's a 3-week training. You know, we got through the first week of training. Monday we come in Monday morning to start week 2, and he just looks distraught. He's pulling on his hair. He looks like he hasn't slept in 3 days, and this guy's losing it. I'm like, dude, what is wrong? And he's like, I can't do it. I'm like, you can't do what? He's like, I'm not going to jack him off. Like, dude. He went a whole week thinking this was. I'm like, this was a joke, man.
This poor guy had slept in 7 days.
Like, you didn't touch your dog. And he's like, no, I couldn't. I'm like, good. Oh my gosh.
See, knowing you, I have a feeling you're that guy, and you're just changing the story.
No, I had JAX. You know, I had JAX.
Well, his name was JAX.
Yeah, and my canine's name was JAX, and his commands are in Dutch, and the Dutch command to lay down is off. That's also the command.
Checks off.
Well, if I send him to go bite, that's the command to get him to stop. That's his, that's his.
The poor guy is laying on the ground getting attacked by a dog. He's like, why is he yelling "Jack's off? Jack's off"? He's like, no, I'm not touching it.
They did not think when they named that dog.
Yeah, that one slipped right through the sensor, man.
We're going to cut that one. I did not cuss during that story, though.
Oh, you didn't? No, I'm proud of you. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Jack's off.
JAX was a psycho too.
Yeah. So we got JAX from Colorado. When they legalized weed, they retired him, but he was only like 2. He was 2 or 3. So, I mean, he's
Still a good dog.
perfect dog. So they gave him to us. I just had to drive up and get him and bring him back. But he was narcotics and tracking, and then they had checked his bite, and he would have been a really good bite dog, but they didn't train. They started the training but didn't finish it, and so he was really confused on should I bite or not. And in some ways, he was like a cat where you pet him 3 times and then they're done. And yeah, I couldn't let people pet him because he'd try to take a bite out of you. He got Pruitt once.
Now I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that he didn't bite.
Yeah. Well, Tinkle wouldn't get anywhere near him, but
Well,
And that's the one that
we'll shy away from
that. The one that you retired and got yourself then?
yeah, he's at home right now, hanging out, and
He's at home.
yeah,
JAX off.
he's laying down.
Oh my gosh, that is just too good.
Yeah,
Oh, any other canine stories?
or jack off stories. Or?
I mean, came across. Well, I shouldn't put it in that sense.
Came across.
Yeah, I shouldn't be saying it that way. Let me compose myself in here so I can find the way to say it properly. But
Oh,
yeah, we had plenty. I mean, even at Northeast, we had the guy that got caught in the Walmart parking lot. That was just rubbing one out for like watching people walk into Walmart. I mean, it is Walmart, so
There's a lot of pajama bottoms up front.
so no, I don't have any good canine stories. You got lucky because I was offered that position before you, and I turned it down. So
Yeah, I'm glad you
You're
bought
welcome.
that dog right before.
yeah, I'm glad I didn't get that dog.
now, Brandon, have you ever received a reward? Not a reward, an award for life saving?
So I have not, but I did happen to get somebody one for their imagined actions that I came up with during a detail session one day. So another buddy at Dallas that I've worked for a very long time, grumpiest dude I've ever known, but great guy. Like I love him to death, but by far the grumpiest dude I've ever met in my entire life. We get dispatched to a suicide call at Bachman Lake. If anybody knows anything about Bachman Lake, it's right in the middle of Northwest Division, Dallas. And I don't think anybody knows the true depth of the lake, but if I had to guess, it would be like 4 feet. But it's all mucky. So
You walk across it.
yeah, basically. So this guy, he's at the club with his boyfriend, like true boyfriend. But his girlfriend, who didn't know he had a boyfriend, also showed up to the club with her girlfriends. And so he got all embarrassed that's how.
Wait. The guy with the boyfriends at the club, the girlfriend.
boyfriend.
Yeah, boyfriend. Not like me and Nate are boys and we're friends, so we're boyfriends, right? Not that kind of hilarious statement, but
Okay.
like girlfriend didn't know he was gay.
Okay. So he's there with his boyfriend. His girlfriend, who
Shows
didn't
up
know
with
he was gay, shows up with her girlfriend.
Her whole
friends.
crew.
Her friends.
Her whole crew of girlfriends.
So that went from a love triangle to a love octagon.
yeah, basically.
Quick.
So
Okay, we're with you now.
so he gets all embarrassed or upset that this is how she finds out that he's gay. So he drives over to Bachman Lake from the club and says that he's going to drown himself. So the boyfriend calls 911. By the time this other officer shows up, the guy's in the water trying to drown himself in the 4 feet of water that's in Bachman Lake. Boyfriend's starting to drag him out. By the time Thomas, I wasn't supposed to say his name, but I will anyways. By the time he gets out of the car, the guy's already almost all the way out of the water. And so Thomas gets 1 foot wet and pulls him in, does 1 chest compression. The guy cuffs up all the water. Paramedics show up and they say, "Oh yeah, you did great. He's perfectly fine. Just take him to the hospital for, the APOW," right? And Thomas made no big deal about it whatsoever. But in my mind, the story just keeps going on and on. So we had, details for fourth watch at Northwest. We had really long details because our sergeant liked to, make sure that we started the shift on a good spot, right? That we would laugh, we'd tell jokes and all this other stuff. So he went through the normal spiel of, hey, we had this burglary at this address and whatever. He's like, does anybody else have anything? And before the last word even popped out, my hand shoots up. I'm like, yeah, I got something. I said, I need to nominate Thomas as for a life-saving bar. And my sergeant just looks at me all confused and goes, I haven't heard anything about anything that's happened. What do you got? I was like, man, Thomas and I got dispatched to this suicide call. I pulled up as Craig was running towards the lake like he was David Hasselhoff in Baywatch, stripping off his belt, dives into the water, pulls the guy out. He's doing chest compressions. I can see the water glistening off of Craig's hair. Like, just, it was a pure Baywatch scene, everything in slow motion. He did such a good job saving this guy's life that the paramedics didn't even have to transport him. Right. So, Craig is just a miracle worker. And so, I do this whole story. It's probably 5 minutes long in detail, me making this stuff up about this like 2 minutes of work that Craig really did. And the biggest thing that he was upset about was he had a soggy sock and for the rest of his shift. Like, that's all he talked about. And so after detail, my sergeant calls me up and he's like, hey, did any of that really happen? I was like, well, the fact that he did a chest compression and the guy lived, yes, 100% that happened. Everything else was complete BS that I made up. He's like, well, I'm still going to put it in. And so he pulls the report, and the report's literally one line. And it says I did one chest compression, paramedics showed up, they cleared him, I took him to the hospital. So my sergeant's like, I'm still going to put him in for it because technically he did save his life, right? If he didn't do the chest compression, right? So it just doesn't make for a good story unless you're like me and you just make stuff up all the time. And so the entire time while we're waiting to see if anything comes back, and we didn't expect a life-saving bar was going to come back for it, I'm making him T-shirts with his face photoshopped onto David Hasselhoff's body. We're creating Bachman Lake Beach Patrol reserve parking spots in the parking lot. We're filling out equipment requests for jet skis and signing his name on it and putting it on the lieutenant's desk and all this stuff that we're doing for him. And finally, you know, I said he was grumpy at the beginning because of this. He would get so upset that we do all this, and he took it all personal. And I finally had a conversation with him. I said, you know, if we didn't do this to you, you would know we didn't like you, right? We only do this to the people that are part of us. And so he finally accepted it. And one day he shows up and he's got the red bathing suit on with the flip flops, the lifeguard T-shirt, and the sunscreen on his nose, and just sits up at the front of detail the entire time wearing that. And about literally 2 days after that, we get the notification that his life-saving bar was approved. And he's got to go receive it from the chief and shake the chief's hand all about this one-line report that he did that I ended up making up the entire story, and he ended up getting the life-saving bar for it. So,
oh, that's good.
Very nice. Very nice.
One compression turned into a whole spiel like that. That's good.
But that tells you what the medics really did. I mean, they didn't have much of a job.
No, not for that one. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about medics. I've seen them
I
save
mean,
quite a few of us. So
we give them a hard time, but I mean, it's fun interacting with the firemen and the medics. And I was on a call with Aubrey medics. There was a fire in Krugerville, and it's like 3 a.m. I'm the K-9 officer. I'm on duty, so I'm just sitting there blocking traffic. You know, if you know Krugerville, there was no traffic to block at 3 a.m. But I'm sitting there. JAX is bored. I get him out. I'm throwing his toy.
Did you have to tell him to get off?
Yeah, made him get down. And they're going in and fighting this fire and coming in and out. And suddenly JAX, I mean, he loves his toy, and I've got his toy, but he's not looking at me, and he could not care less about this toy.
Ooh, that's weird.
That was really, I'm like, okay, what's wrong here? And I'm trying to get him to look at me, and he starts getting lower, and he's in attack mode. I'm like, oh no. And I look over, a fireman had just come out. Well, those fire suits look an awful lot like a bite suit.
I never thought of that.
Oh no, they are fighting a fire and he's about to get bit. So I slowly walk. I'm telling him, no, don't.
Jack's off.
Yeah, I'm yelling, Jack's off. He lays down. Get over there, hook him up to his leash. Like, oh, that could have been so
You
bad.
should have got a life-saving word for that one.
Yeah.
That poor medic never even knew how
didn't
close he
know.
was to death.
Especially with JAX.
Let's talk to Daniel Cook now from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. 833 Cook DFW is the phone number. The website is cookdfw.com. How are you, Daniel?
Doing fantastic, Steve. Thank you very much.
I did want to ask you, Daniel, how important is it that a homeowner knows what kind of materials are going on their home?
Steve, that is a fantastic question. And majority of the homeowners need to definitely ask their contractors when they're interviewing contractors or getting quotes and estimates like they love to do. What materials are you going to be using on that project? So if you're doing a roof, it's what manufacturer shingles are you going to be putting on? What type of shingles are you going to be installing on my roof? Do they have a certification or a classification like a class 3 or a class 4? Underlayment, you know, what type of underlayment are you putting on? Is it a synthetic? Are you using a felt paper? Do you use starter shingles around the perimeter to make sure the shingles have a great adhesion around the edges for wind? Do you put something in the valleys like ice and water or valley metal? What type of hip and ridge shingles do you use? These are very important to the integrity of the roof and how long it lasts, but not many clients understand. Just ask some questions. Ask them to build the roof in front of you and tell them and elaborate what materials are they going to use. Because a lot of times when people go out and they get estimates, the contractor is going to sell you on the price, not necessarily what materials and quality is being done. So do yourself a favor, ask those questions. And if they can't answer you and really do that, I think that's a red flag for you.
Man, leave it up to the pros, because you mentioned all sorts of stuff in there that I don't understand. And I mean, that's why you need a roofing professional to help you out with this. Give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration for any of those roofing, remodeling, or restoration needs. The number is 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask them about their free first responder upgrade. And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We've got two guests joining us today. We've got Officer Nate Johnson.
Yes, sir.
And retired Officer Brandon Bray.
Hello, hello.
Now, if you have not been to the website yet, check it out. Offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. Curtis, why are you laughing over here?
.com.
.com. Not period com.
No, not period com.
So, offbeatcopshow.com. You can check out all the episodes there, as well as subscribe to the email list. Oh, man, it's a rough day. Also, check us out on Facebook and Instagram. If you're an officer, you've got a funny story you would like to come on the show and share with our listeners, then send us an email, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow@.com. Gmail.
Oh, gmail.com. Sorry.
Damn, I can't take you anywhere, man.
Got excited.
I still got MySpace, so if it tells you anything.
Okay, move right along, Curtis. Now, Brandon, you've actually taken part in the police and fire games, correct?
Yes, sir. This past June 2024, I competed for the first time out there in California for the U.S. and Police and Fire Championships. Kind of long story how I got there. When we worked at Northeast, we worked 12-hour shifts. We were allowed to take 1 hour to work out. There was a new gym that started up in Crossroads. And for their grand opening, they did a bench press competition. Well, I'd always been training, but I never really took it seriously. And I went in there and won the bench press competition in uniform and all that. And it ended up, somebody recorded it, put it on YouTube. It hit the news. I walked into work one day. Our chief looked at me and said, "Hey, by the way, I know you're trying to avoid being on camera, but you're going to be interviewed by the news." So somebody from DFW News came up, interviewed me about powerlifting and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to my first competition a little bit after that, ended up winning the competition there. It was a regional one in Texas, set a couple state records for powerlifting and all that.
Very nice.
And then right after I'd left police work full-time, I got in a major car wreck, ended up having a bunch of brain injuries and occipital nerve damage and all this other stuff. And they told me that I wasn't probably, one, I wouldn't be able to be a cop anymore. And two, I probably wasn't going to be able to lift weights anymore. So I went through 14 months of rehab, speech therapy, everything that I had to go through. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to lifting. I don't care what they say, and I'm going to do a competition. So I happened to run into a guy at my gym that is one of the refs for the U.S. Police and Fire games. And he said, 100%, you're going. I'm forcing you to go. Like, you're going to show up. I'm going to coach you. We're going to do all this stuff. So I trained with my buddy Rudy, and I mean, he's a badass. He's 53 or 54 years old, still bench presses 385 for reps. Wins every bench press competition he's ever been in. So I show up to police and fire games in California, had never been to San Diego before, had no clue where I was, had never been to something this large, and then ended up winning my age and weight class and setting the all-time deadlift record for the competition.
Very nice.
So
well done.
Yeah.
So what is your record, I guess?
For the record for that, my deadlift was 667.5.
Oh, you're going light then?
Yeah. And then in worlds coming up in June, my goal is going to be to do a 725.
Good deal, man.
Dang.
Do you need to borrow my car? I mean,
yeah, I'll push it around.
Yeah, I need to change the oil if you don't mind. If you just hold it up for a little bit, few minutes there.
Well, that's a funny story too. When we were working in Krugerville or Crossroads, we had a car that was parked on the edge with a flat tire, and one of the guys we used to work with couldn't get the jack underneath the car. I was like, "Oh, dude, let me just pick up the car and you can slide it." He's like, "Man, that's not going to work." And yeah, I was able to pick it up just enough so that he could slide the jack underneath it to get it up the rest of the way. So it comes in handy every once in a while.
And then start calling him Hightower. Well, staying in theme with today's show and our TV game show here, what are we going for, the daily double here?
I was like, let's do it.
Brandon, actually, this is a daily deuce.
True. Yeah. So
This is your favorite crap story.
yeah, I think I might have said the last one was my favorite, but I was definitely misspoken because this is by far my
All-time favorite.
Well,
Yeah.
we can't hold back. We must.
You don't hold
share.
back on a poop story.
You don't want to. Never mind. Go ahead.
Can't hold back the poo.
Yeah, so we get out of detail, and we're getting in our cars. And at the time, I was maybe a year off of training, and I was assigned to a specific beat and sector. And then I had, my partner that was in a different car that was assigned to it. And I got dispatched to a call, but somebody from a different sector got assigned to it with me. So after I got done with the call, I looked up where this other officer was, and he was all the way off division, somewhere in North Dallas, like North Central Dallas, that wasn't part of where we were supposed to be working. So I sent him a message on the computer. I said, "What are you doing?" And he didn't reply on the computer. He called me. So I knew something was hinky with the whole situation. So he calls me and he's like, "Dude, I got to put on this new medicine. And as we were walking out of detail, I thought I had to fart, and I gambled and lost. And I didn't have a spare uniform. So I had to drive back to my apartment to go change my clothes. And I'm on my way back right now, but don't tell anybody." And of course,
As soon as he said, don't tell
when
anybody.
you say don't tell anybody, like that's the automatic, somebody else is going to hear about this.
Absolutely.
Someone else needs to know.
Yeah. So my sergeant, we got super close right away because, of some things in our personal lives that we had in common. And so I sent him a message immediately because I knew he wouldn't get in trouble for it or anything like that. But I said, "Hey, send him a message and ask him why he's on channel 6 right now." And so the sergeant sends him a message, says, "Why are you on channel 6? And of course, no message back on the computer. He calls the sergeant and tells him the whole story. And he's like, "Look, man, you got to tell me when you're going off division, because if you don't, all the bells and whistles are going to go off down at dispatch. They're going to call the commander. They're going to call and call me. And I need to know why you're off division so I can tell them why you are where you are." Which is all bullshit, right? Like nobody ever cares. I
There's
mean,
no
I went off
alarms.
division literally every day. And so he's freaking out that he's going to get in trouble for this, right? And this is, I would say 2008, maybe 2009. And so a couple months after that, we go to a major wreck on I-35. One of the families that was involved in it, they were coming back from SeaWorld, and they had no other car. They had all their vacation stuff in the car with them. And we had, it's a crash on the highway. We had a ton of officers out there. So me being one of the more senior officers, even though it was only a couple years after getting out of the academy, I was like, "Look, just put all your stuff in our squad cars. We'll have a couple cars drive you guys back home. Where do you live?" And they said Frisco. So if you think North Dallas, Frisco, if you know the geography, it's not that bad. Well, it turns out they were calling North Prosper Frisco because this was before the tollway was done all the way up there. And so, we hit the end of the tollway and we keep driving. I'm like, I have absolutely no idea where we are right now. And so we get them to their house, we drop them off. I'm unloading the cars with all their vacation stuff. And the same guy that went off channel the first time is now freaking out with me in the car going, "Dude, we're going to get in so much trouble. We didn't call sergeant, let him know. We didn't do this. We didn't do that." And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, "Dude, what the hell are you talking about?" And he's like, "Don't you remember when I shit pants and I had to do this? And Sarge told us this." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I remember that." And so we're driving back, and I seriously think he's going to have a heart attack. So finally, on the way in, we get back into Dallas. I'm like, "Dude, it's a joke. Like, none of that is true. I called I called Sarge. I called Sarge and told him, to ask you. And he made all that up." And so he's all pissed off at me because, he's been thinking this whole prank has been going on. And I completely forget about it. Fast forward about 7 years later.
7 years.
Long game here.
Yeah, this is definitely the long game prank we got going on. So we get dispatched, me and a couple other officers, one, the life-saving bar guy, and then one of our other buddies. We get dispatched to one of the massage parlors again. And, checking on all the girls that are in there and whatever. And we were standing in the parking lot after the call to persuade the clientele to not go there. And I'm talking about food and saying, "Hey, man, I'm hungry. Where do you guys want to go to eat?" And they were trying to think of restaurants that were still open. I said, "Well, Applebee's over there, off of Beat 535, which that beat in Northwest Division is over in Coppell. It's not even in the city limits of Dallas. So we would have to drive out of our division to go do it. And the guy that won the life-saving bar looks at me. He's like, man, we can't do that. I said, why? And he's like, because they're going to notify Sarge and, dispatch is going to say all this. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I go, that was a prank we pulled like 7 or 8 years ago. Like, why is this still getting brought up now? He's like, no, it's 100% true. Sarge would not lie to me about this and all this other stuff. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just go find somewhere else to eat. You guys go do your thing. I get in the car and I immediately call my sergeant. I said, hey, did we pull this same thing on this guy too? He's like, Bray, I couldn't tell you how many people we've pulled this on since we started that back then. And so I was like, well, I might have just ruined it. He's like, you better not have. So I immediately get on the computer and send that officer a message. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. You're right. I was wrong. I just talked to Sarge. So, I mean, this was originally started in, 2008, 2009, maybe. And there's no telling how many people are still down in Dallas going, oh, we can't leave the division without, notifying anything. And it all started, one officer pants. And
I'm going to, next time I'm in Dallas, I'm going to ask somebody, have y'all ever heard of the Bray prank?
Yeah. So
just
that's
ask if they can go off division.
Yeah. So that's what? 8-year prank that went on that, surprised me when it was still going on.
Still living.
Yeah. So
That's nice. A prank with a legacy.
Absolutely.
You're very good. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Guys, keep it real, keep it funny. And until next time, stay safe and watch each other 6.